My friends are my power. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
What is up, nerds? Welcome back to Nerd Explosion, the weekly podcast that's based on a monthly theme. We nerd out, but whatever we want. I'm Cameron, and Kate's not here. Oh, okay. Lonely, I'm so lonely. I've got nobody for my own. Kate decided she was too cool for us, so she decided to not do this episode. No, I'm kidding. She's house sitting for her parents because they are in Punta Cana right now with her uncle and aunt and some other people. I'm not sure who all went, but basically she's house sitting for them. So, and also watching her aunt and uncle's dog, who apparently is a handful from what she's been telling me. So yeah, she's house sitting. So I'm doing this episode solo, but. And this is going to be a surprise to her. The theme I decided to pick for this month, I didn't really know exactly what to call it. I wanted to either call it underrated episodes or guilty pleasure, or not episodes, underrated movies or guilty pleasure movies. I wanted to dedicate this month to talking about movies, like each episode, talk about a movie that we really like, but is not like generally popular or is not, you don't see a lot of people talking about it, but you see like a niche group of people talking about it. So that's what I wanted to do this month. I wanted to dedicate this month to talking about underrated movies / guilty pleasure movies. And today's episode, we are going to be focusing on one of my personal favorite movies of all time, and I'll rewatch it every chance I get. Kung Pao Enter the Fist. Before we get into that, new episodes of this podcast come out every Saturday, so, do all the stuff on the, the link is in the description. Come on, you should know this by now, guys. I've been doing this for like 3 years. Get with the program here. But yeah, let's talk about Kung Pao Enter the Fist. So some of you might know the movie I'm talking about today, but others might not have ever heard of this movie, like Kung Pao Enter the Fist. What is this? Some kind of kung fu movie? Yeah, kinda. I'm just gonna go right off the Wikipedia here, because, I'm sure a lot of people, I don't know, this may just be me overthinking, but I'm sure a lot of people are like, oh, he's just reading off Wikipedia. He doesn't, sorry, I'm not a fucking being of infinite wisdom that knows every single thing ever. But anyway, according to the Wikipedia, Kung Pao Enter the Fist is a 2002 American martial arts comedy film that parodies Hong Kong action cinema. Written, directed, and starring Steve Odekirk, it uses footage from the 1976 Hong Kong martial arts film Tiger and Crane Fists, which is also called The Savage Killers, starring and directed by Jimmy Wang Yu, along with new footage shot by Odekirk, who has also digitally inserted over Wang in many scenes to create an original, unrelated plot. Now, that name, Steve Odekirk, I don't know if that'll sound familiar to any of you, but it may sound familiar when I bring up another, a cartoon character that some of you may know. That being Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius. He wasn't the voice of Jimmy Neutron, no, that was Debbie Derryberry. Respect to her. But Steve Odekirk worked with other people to help create and produce Jimmy Neutron. So that was my first experience with him, and then I found Kung Pao Enter the Fist when I became a teenager. I say teenager because this was 2002, and I wasn't even really a teenager at that point. I was 9 years old when this movie came out. And it's one of the funniest movies. A lot of it's weird, stupid, immature humor. But a lot of those movies I like. Maybe it's just because, my ADHD, or maybe because I have, immature sense of humor. I don't know, there's a lot in this movie that I just absolutely love. Let's go further into this Wikipedia. Despite a negative critical reception, the film was a moderate box office success, grossing $17 million worldwide against a $10 million budget. It has since been considered a cult classic for its off-the-wall humor and parodying of various dubbing tropes. Yeah, what they mean by that, parodying various dubbing tropes, is that obviously English dubs of like Chinese and like Asian movies is known to be kind of garbage, and Steve Odekirk fully leans into that and makes fun of it. Like, there's one scene where these two guys are talking, and Steve Odekirk, comes in, his character, Chosen One, comes in, and there's two guys, and one of the guys is like, hey, like, who is he? And then one guy just like mouths a bunch of stuff, but you don't hear him say anything. And then as soon as his mouth closes, you just hear, I don't know. It's so stupid, and I love it. But the plot of this movie, a man called the Chosen One by the narrator wanders from town to town to search for the man who killed his family and tried to kill when he was a baby. So, backing up quick, I'm going to interject with some of my favorite scenes, as I'm going through the plot. So, this opening scene, obviously, the villain of the movie, who we later found out has named himself Betty, he, as a baby, tries to kill the Chosen One, but the Chosen One somehow still knows Kung Fu, knows Kung Fu as a baby, and escapes his clutches and ends up rolling down a hill. So he gets to like the bottom of this hill. Well, not really the bottom of the hill, but there's like a path in the middle of this hill that he stops at as this woman is walking by. And this woman puts down her like baskets and stuff, picks up the Chosen One baby, and is like, oh, so cute. And then turns to the other side of the path and just sends the baby down the hill and just goes, bye-bye. It's one of my favorite parts of this. Just, so cute. Bye-bye. It just sends the baby back rolling down the hill. Oh my god. Anyway, getting back to this plot. In one town, he meets Master Tang, a very ill and slightly deranged Sifu. Now, for those of you that don't know, Sifu is basically like a martial arts instructor. I only know that because I took Kung Fu for like 12 years, and my teacher was known as Sifu Lam. Really good teacher. I missed the guy. He was awesome. Anyway, he meets Master Tang, a very ill and slightly deranged Sifu, and asks Tang to help him improve his already impressive martial arts ability. Master Tang is skeptical at first, but after seeing the Chosen One's mark, his sentient ton, which he names Tunny, he allows him to train at his dojo. The Chosen One is introduced to two other students, Wimp Lo, a young man who was deliberately trained incorrectly as a joke, and Ling, a young woman who has romantic feelings for the Chosen One. This scene, when he gets introduced to Ling, she obviously she's shy or whatever, but Master Tang is just like, do not be concerned by her shyness, for it will pass. And then there's some awkward silence, and then it goes to a shot of like her shirt opening, and you just see a floral bra, and then Chosen One is just like, huh? And then Master Tay just, there you go. Oh, and the Wimp Lo thing, like the dub, like this guy obviously does like a praying mantis style like stance or whatever, and he's like, woo! Oh, if you got an ass, I'll hit. Wimp Lo is such a fucking stupid character. Like in this movie, every time he runs, his shoes squeak. Oh my god, I need to rewatch this movie like right now. Like as soon as I'm done doing this episode, I need to rewatch this movie. While training, the Chosen One shows cartoon-like feats of strength, and Wimp Lo deems him an enemy out of jealousy. Upon learning that Master Pang, the man who killed his parents, has just arrived in town, the Chosen One prepares to confront him. Master Pang, obviously... Oh, wait, no, they get to it. Sorry, ignore me. The Chosen One prepares to confront him. Master Pang draws a crowd and demonstrates his skills. He lets his henchmen hit him repeatedly with bow staffs all over his body and groin, and then subdues all of them in one move. Impressed by Master Pang's skills, the town's mayor hires him, and Master Pang randomly changes his name to Betty. You will know me by my new name, Betty. The Chosen One attempts to train himself by letting people hit him with bow staffs, but is knocked out after being hit. Oh, yeah, that part I really love too. So he tries to be like, oh, well, I could do that. And then he just gets the shit beat out of him with fucking bow staffs. When he wakes up, a mysterious one-breasted woman named Woe warns him not to rush to fight Betty. After flirtily fighting with the Chosen One, Woe flies off into the sky. Yeah, this plot just does, like, out of context, this plot, people would just probably be like, what the hell is this movie? Believe me, that's the whole idea of the movie. The whole idea is just for you to be like, what the hell? Like, the entire time. Ignoring Woe's advice, the Chosen One sets off to find Betty. He comes across one of Betty's evil companions, Moo New, a Holstein cow gifted in karate with a large udder that can shoot milk as a weapon. Yeah, there's a scene where Steve Waterkirk fights a cow that also knows karate. It's probably the one scene a lot of people know from this movie, him fighting the cow. But yeah, that's just, it's funny, it's insane, it's nonsensical, and it just makes me laugh. The Chosen One eventually incapacitates Moo New, which, by the way, I'm gonna stop there. I didn't even know the cow had a name until I just read the Wikipedia. Incapacitates Moo New by milking him until his udder is empty. He sees Betty at a waterfall and confronts him. Master Do, Lane's father, shows up and tries to stop the unprepared Chosen One and is wounded by Betty. The Chosen One takes Master Do to Master Tane. It turns out they are old friends. So in this part, obviously he takes Master Do to Master Tane, and you see a shot where they're like dragging him into the thing, and Master Tane just goes, "Oh, we need some Neosporin on that." Da na 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 na. Neo. Na 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 na. Sporin. Oh my god. However, as Tane massages Do's wound, it does not close, and Do dies that night. Out of depression, Lane confesses her feelings for the Chosen One. Confused, the Chosen One journeys out to a field and consults the heavens for confidence. Suddenly, Mushufasa, a lion, appears in the sky and dispenses advice in a seed parodying a portion of the Lion King. So not only is this movie parodying, like, you know, martial arts movies and all that stuff, it has a section where it parodies the Mufasa scene from the Lion King. He returns to town and finds that Betty's hostility has expanded to the entire town, and they are killing anyone who may be his allies. He finds Wimplo, Lane, Master Tane, and even his dog heavily maimed. However, except for Lo, they all survive. Oh yeah, I love that part, because like, he's in a field and he hears people call out for him, and he hears like Lane, Master Tane, and the dog, and he's like Lane, and then rushes does the thing. He's like, and then he hears Master Tane. He's like, Master, and then runs to him, and then the dog whines, and he's like, dog. Which I should say, like, the dubbing parody I love, because there's a scene where like he says something to the dog, and it's obvious that the dog barks, but you don't hear anything. So the dog, like, the dog's mouth opens, and then it lays down, and then 5 seconds later, you just hear, woof. Oh my god. Well, yeah, and then he finds out everyone else is alive, right? And then he's like, wait, if you're all alive, then that means, Wimplo, did you, oh. He just comes back, and Wimplo, you don't see him, but you just hear flies, and it's heavily implied that Wimplo is, like, legitimately just dead. Like, he ain't coming back like the rest of them. Let's see. After taking Lane and his dog to safety, the Chosen One begins training himself. Discovering Betty's weak points are the pyramid spikes embedded in his chest, the Chosen One makes wooden dummies, embeds similar spikes onto their chests, and attempts to pluck them out with his bare hands. His hands are battered and he is exhausted, but after Lane treats his wounds and gives an inspiring speech, he finds himself rejuvenated and successfully pulls off the attack.
Tell me, what you thinking?
Of how best to deal with Betty.
But you've mastered your technique. You should be able to beat him now.
I'm sorry?
But you mastered your technique. You should be able to beat him now.
I got everything but the last part, up through you should be able.
You should be able to beat him now.
Perhaps, but wooden dummies don't fight back. While I'm ripping out the caps, I'm completely defenseless. For instance, the first move could be like this. I could leap like a freak, then throw in a back-snapping eel strike. But he'd have a clear shot at my ribs. I could always pretend I'm a bird. But that would just look stupid and leave my small sensitive balls completely exposed. The best approach would be to go for both caps at once. No matter what the tactic, they all have a flaw.
You should be able to beat him.
I forget if it's in the same thing, but like Lynn says something, and it goes to shot of like Steve Odekirk holding her, or Chosen One holding her, and he just has this really intense face, like he's yelling something, he's saying something with a lot of passion, but the voiceover, like the dub, is just him being like, "I implore you to reconsider." If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Let's see. Meanwhile, Betty is called by the mysterious evil council. The evil council. Oh god, there's another scene where it shows the guy looking at these like different papers with like swans and like tigers, like Chinese artwork or like Asian artwork, and he's just the voiceover is just kinda birdie. It's just so stupid. Oh god, another one of my favorite things when he's training is before that he decides to he baits some squirrels into coming to him, which will be important later. But he goes into this market and he talks to this guy and he's like, "Oh, take a pound of nuts." And the guy selling nuts is just like, "That's a lot of nuts." And he's obviously thrown off. And then the guy, grabs the bag and then he looks at Chosen One and he's like, "That'll be $4, baby. You want fries with that?" And he just Chosen One just takes the nuts and walks away. And then you see the guy kind of look out, and then you see like an obviously not his hand come up with a flip phone. It just flips it open and he's just like, "He just left with nuts." Oh my god, it's like I said, it's so stupid. Anyway, back to the plot. Betty is called by the mysterious evil council and learns that the Chosen One is alive. The Chosen One confronts Betty at the temple. They fight evenly until the evil council shows up, revealing themselves to be French aliens. Which I should mention, by the way, there are scenes when like Betty is messing up somebody, but before he does, it goes to somebody who was obviously green screened in, like over this martial arts movie that they have. This guy with a boombox, he just presses play, and Black Betty plays. You know the song that's like, "Whoa, Black Betty, bam a lamb, whoa, Black Betty, bam a lamb." Let's see. They fight evenly until the evil council shows up, revealing themselves to be French aliens, and gives Betty supernatural powers. Betty viciously beats up the Chosen One, who, in a semi-unconscious state, sees visions of Woe and Mushu Fasa giving him advice. Mushu instructs him to open his mouth. As soon as he does, Tunny flies out and attacks and destroys the mothership, causing the entire evil council armada to panic and retreat. Leaving Betty vulnerable, the Chosen One eventually rips the pyramid spikes out of Betty's chest, killing him. As the Chosen One returns home with Lane, his tribulations are far from over, as presented in a trailer for a sequel, Kung Pao 2 Ton of Fury, that immediately follows the final scene. In a post-credits scene, Master Tang, who has been left behind, asks someone to help him from a hungry golden eagle eating his leg. Oh, I didn't even know I didn't even know there was a post-credits scene. I had never seen that. The one thing I do want to mention, like halfway through this movie. Oh, so before that, there's the part before the part I was going to talk about. There's Lane sees a Chosen One in the distance, and she's like, "Chosen One," and then you see Chosen One in the distance, be like, "Lane, I'm coming," and it just goes back and forth, just "Chosen One, I'm coming." chosen one, I'm coming. And it just keeps repeating, and he just keeps getting like closer and then further and then closer and further until eventually it's a close up of him, and then just this tiny net, falls on his head, and he just like struggles. He's struggling to get out of it, even though it's just this really tiny net, and then he just falls. It's so stupid. And then eventually he has like a realization moment where he's like, oh, I gotta be this hero, and he's like, I got to get out of this net. And it's literally the scene where he was struggling with the net, just played in reverse. Like I said, this movie is so stupid. But I think in the middle of that, that whole part is split up with a intermission, quote unquote. And I don't know if I have the sound clip, but if I do, I'll play it for you.
Go get some snacks. Perhaps a carbonated soda.
I hope they have ices.
I've chosen the large tub.
My nipples look like milk duds.
I've got some yellow liquid for your popcorn. And it's non-dairy.
I think I've used that clip in an older episode of this podcast. Like I did it for like a transition to talk about some other stuff. But they mentioned the trailer, quote unquote, for a sequel, Kung Pao 2, Ton of Fury, which never happened, I should say. The sequel to this movie never happened. It's been years. Like I said, this came out in 2002, so it's been a while. There has not been a sequel since. Going into the reception of this, Rotten Tomatoes apparently gave it a 13% based on 55 reviews, with an average rating of 3.5 out of 10. The site's critics' consensus reads, a short sketch's worth of jokes stretched into a full-length feature. So they basically thought it was like a sketch comedy thing, just dragged out into like a full movie. And honestly, I find nothing wrong with that. Let's see. At the 2002 Stinkers Bad Movie Awards, the film was nominated for Worst Picture and tied with The Master of Disguise for a win for Most Painfully Unfunny Comedy. How very dare you, Stinkers Bad Movie Awards? Master of Disguise, that's another movie. Maybe I'll dedicate a whole other episode to that. And, maybe I could get Kate to talk about it too, but Master of Disguise, it's another one of those movies that's so stupid, but it's really funny. Like I said, I'm not going to go much into Master of Disguise, just maybe I'll do an episode on that one too. Who knows? Let's see. Kung Pao Enter the Fist, again, grossed a total of $17 million worldwide on a budget of $10 million. So they literally made a profit of $7 million on this movie, which is not bad, honestly. You had a budget of $10 million and you made back $17 million. I consider that a win. Ooh, future. In a live stream on March 27th, 2022, Oderkirk has stated that while his original plan was for there to be a Kung Pao trilogy, discussions to make a sequel with 20th Century Studios have not worked out, as no interest was ever shown. He also stated that he has thought of making a spiritual successor to the film using spaghetti westerns and or sword and sandal movies. No further updates have been given since. So basically, Steve Oderkirk has come out and said he's interested in either continuing it or, kind of making a spiritual successor, but nothing has come of that since. Let me go back up and go on to Steve Oderkirk and see what is, if he has any more recent stuff. He is behind the production company O Entertainment, which was responsible for Jimmy Neutron and all that. In the Omation Animation Studio, Steve Oderkirk was also responsible for he did Jimmy Neutron. He also was behind Barnyard, if anybody remembers Barnyard. But let's see, he directed the first Ace Ventura movie, which I didn't even know about, and I love the first Ace Ventura movie. Oddly enough, he didn't do the second, which is weird or whatever. Oh, and High Strung. He was a writer on High Strung, which apparently is another Jim Carrey movie. So he worked with Jim Carrey a few times. He was a writer on the first Nutty Professor and a story writer on the second Nutty Professor. He was a writer for Jimmy Neutron Boy Genius, obviously directed Kung Pao Enter the Fist. He was a writer on Bruce Almighty and Evan Almighty. So he worked with Jim Carrey at least a couple more times. Ace Ventura Pet Detective, which was the sequel to the first Ace Ventura. He was an executive consultant. I guess because he directed the first movie, obviously they were consulting him on the second movie because they didn't want to just completely obliterate what he had done in the first movie. Which, honestly, I love both movies. I think I prefer Pet Detective. Or no, When Nature Calls was the sequel. I got those mixed up somehow. Pet Detective was the first one. When Nature Calls was the second one. 2024, he had a role for Ricky Stanicky, which I think is that movie. Isn't that movie with Zac Efron and John Cena? Where it was like a group of friends and like they lied to their wives about something. So like they've been lying to their wives for like forever about this guy who didn't actually exist. So they had to find a guy who was John Cena to play as Ricky Stanicky. Acting roles. He did a bunch of voices for stuff. In Living Color, blah blah blah. Thumbs, I forgot. Oh, so like Steve Odekirk. If you don't know him from anything else, I also know him from the Thumb movies. He did a lot of like short films. Like I found him on YouTube. There's like Thumb Wars, which is Star Wars. Probably the most popular one being Thumbtanic. That's the whole thing I'm doing in another episode, probably another theme month talking about that. But getting back to Kung Pao Enter the Fist, yeah, it was not really liked when it came out, but I think since then it's become a cult classic, and every once in a while I'll find clips on TikTok about that because, and there's obviously a niche group of people that really like this movie, myself included, and it's one of my favorite movies, like one of my favorite there's like a category of movies I have called stupid movies, so it's one of my favorite stupid movies of all time. Like it's one I'll go back and just rewatch nonstop, just when I need a good laugh, But yeah, Kung Pao Enter the Fist is great, and I highly recommend you guys check it out. I know a lot of people are probably going to think it's way too stupid and turn it off, and that's fine, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But I definitely recommend it if you just want something stupid to put on. There's a lot of really good jokes in there, and just, it's definitely like outdated by, some of the jokes may be a little dated by today's standards. I mean, this was 2002, but it's blah, 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 if I could stop stuttering. It's a really good time. It's a really good laugh. And it's just one of those, you're just like, even if you're not like bursting out laughing, like a lot of stuff in this movie just make you go, heh. But yeah, I guess that's all I got to say on Kung Pao Enter the Fist. Go check it out. I don't know where it's streaming. It might be on Tubi. I don't know. Actually, no, let's look that up, shall we? Let's look that up. Just so you don't have to go diving for the answers, I will help you out with the answers. So, Kung Pao Enter the Fist. Where to watch? Let's see. Amazon Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, and Fandango. Is that it? Really? Well, yeah, Amazon Prime, I guess. If you have Amazon Prime, you can check it out. Otherwise, just search around. I'm sure you can find it. I'm surprised it hasn't ended up on Tubi because, a lot of these quote-unquote nothing movies end up on Tubi or whatever. Which a lot of people make fun of movies that end up on Tubi, being like, "Oh, these really shitty movies end up on Tubi." There's some good movies on there from the little exploring that I did once. Like personally, I don't watch Tubi all the time, but I explored once, and there's some good movies on there. But anyway, back to my point. Kung Pao Enter the Fist. Definitely check it out. And with that, that's all I gotta say on that movie. Tune in next week. Hopefully, Caitlin will join me again. I know it's weird to do an episode by myself, because I've been doing it with Kate for so long, like the past couple years, that it just feels weird to do an episode by myself. But yeah, that'll be the end of this episode. I hope you guys are doing positive things out there, drink your water, just love one another, be nice to one another, or I swear to God, I will call
your grandma on you. Don't even think I won't. I will. I know her number. Watch yourself, bitch.
With that. Anyway, I've been Cameron, and as always, we'll see you in the next episode. Nerd out.